Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zaki, Sean, and Ryan are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 58, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zaki Hassan, and joining me once more is my good friend Brian Hall.
Hey, Zaki. What's going on?
What's going on with you? We have not spoken in a little while. We are 1 week late with this episode, but I do want to tell the audience with good reason, because we wanted to have an episode where we focused on Interstellar and some of the other big new releases that are out right now, so we decided it would be worth a little bit of a delay for hopefully a big payoff.
I think so. I'm looking at the outline now. This thing is stuffed. People are going to get their money's worth here. So
yes, they're going to get everything they paid for it. So that's a promise. That is a promise. What's new and exciting with you?
Oh, man.
Okay, great.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to do a shameless plug because I'm going to do it. But as of this afternoon, this is brand spanking new news. On Fox Television Sunday nights, Bob's Burgers has moved from 7:30 Eastern Pacific to 9:30.
Oh, I just read that to accommodate Mulaney.
Mulaney, which is being swapped into the 7:30 spot.
To be canceled, Mulaney.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't seen it myself. I have no opinion on that show, but I am happy that Bob's is. It seems like there's been a lot of write-up, a lot of buzz about it when it came back, but it was still tucked away there, at 7:30. So it's exciting that it's back in the spotlight, and I hope it catches on. I think people are going to like the shows that are coming up. So, shameless plug, except I have no shame about it.
You heard it straight from the source.
Yeah.
So, or a source. Close to the source.
Yeah. But I've seen some stuff. I've seen some stuff here. It's funny because I feel like in recent weeks I've been sort of in a drought of entertainment. I haven't been able to see as many things as I'd like to talk on the show about.
Meanwhile, the rest of us are in an actual drought here in California. So
that's true. That's true. So please.
So it's very
turn
nice.
That leaky faucet off. Yeah. But no, I watched a bunch of things actually. I watched this documentary called Saturday Night. Have you heard of this?
Okay. I know of it.
Yeah, this is a documentary about a week of SNL. Like what goes into putting on one episode of SNL, and James Franco did this. Because Franco wears many hats, and he is a professor writes books, he acts, he does this, and he's also a filmmaker. And so anyway, he realized he would have unprecedented access as, being who he is. And so he went behind the scenes of an episode from 2008 that starred John Malkovich. And it's I got to say, if people are interested in SNL, and I know, we complain that it's not as good as it used to be, or it's not always as funny as whatever. But I think a lot of people who are fans of SNL are fans of it just because of the history of it, and just sort of almost the mystery of it. What goes into how the whirlwind process of making the show. And so, this thing captures it really well, where you start at the pitch meeting where all these writers are sitting and all the actors are sitting on Lorne Michaels' floor with John Malkovich sitting in a chair on his lap. Yeah. But, and they just throw out ideas to the actor and see what gets a laugh, and some things do, some things don't, and then they end up going to like a table read where they read I don't even remember, it's like 50 skits or something like that, and it's just like then they whittle it down to 10, and anyway, so it's a very fly on the wall sort of thing, I think, for better or for worse, because a lot of times you get to capture some really small moments that make you feel like you're a part of the gang, but then there are other times where maybe things go on a little bit too long, and you're sort of feel like you're trapped with them, at 1 a.m. while they're...
It sounds like you're describing any given episode of Saturday Night Live.
Kind of.
Because by the end, it just goes on too long and you feel trapped.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it's not a very tight documentary, but I don't think that's necessarily horrible, because in a way, having a little bit of that flab, it really does make you feel like you're tagging along for this process. And
Now, Brian, you said that he follows a 2008 episode that Malkovich hosted.
Right.
So it took him 6 years to get this thing made?
Well, I think the hugest thing was getting things cleared. He had to get a lot of people to sign off on, appearing in it and having. He basically, a lot of times when you do a movie, and this is something I learned from working in movies, is like, I mean, if you have a picture in the background in a living room that you might not even see, you have to get that cleared, or you have to pay that artist or whoever took that photograph. So everything you see in a movie, I'd say 9 times out of 10 or 99% is cleared. So anyway, so I think Franco probably just brought a video camera and just shot for a week. But, there's music, there's all sorts of things that he had. And there's one moment actually where I guess Bill Hader does an impersonation of Prince and sings a Prince song. And then it cuts to black all of a sudden, and Franco puts up a little title card that says they couldn't get the rights to this song, but it was the funniest thing he's ever seen. So it's like you don't get to see it, but so I think that's why it took so long.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Bill Hader, because I don't know if you've been following the ratings, but Bill Hader recently hosted SNL.
Yes.
And it is apparently the lowest rated episode of SNL ever.
That is insane. That's insane.
So
I'm not saying that
you're Bill Hader, that's got to sting a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. It's not like everybody knows who he is per se, but I don't understand why that would be the worst in history. I don't know.
Well, I think maybe it's just because he hasn't been gone long enough to have created a separate from SNL fan base.
That's probably true.
Because what I've noticed this season so far, and this season has been pretty excruciating, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who now watches it through Hulu, so it takes me about 17 minutes to go through any given episode.
Yeah.
Which is great, but even it's 17 excruciating minutes. But what they've been doing is bringing back previous cast members all
a lot, yeah,
a lot for this season. I don't. This is the 40th anniversary season, so maybe that's why.
They can hide behind that, sure.
Yeah, it
has nothing to do with the current cast.
That's the reason. Yeah, but it's a rebuilding couple of seasons so far.
They're definitely in like a transitional period right now.
Well, Nasim Pedrad left last season to star on Mulaney.
Mulaney, yeah.
So maybe not the smartest of moves.
Unfortunate, because she is, in my opinion, one of the unsung heroes when she was on there. I mean, she was solid.
Well, the line to comfort Nasim Pedrad forms behind me, so it's all good.
Well, anyway,
on.
Speaking of Hulu, I'll just say that is on. It's only available on Hulu Plus. So if you're a Hulu Plus member, that's where you can see this Saturday night.
Well, I know what I'm going to be watching at some point, possibly.
Yeah.
But Brian, you mentioned you also saw 1941.
Yes. So 1941, which if you know what that is at all, you probably know. Yes. I looked. I had a vision.
I saw what happened.
Yeah. Swing music abounded everywhere. But no, so 1941, most people, if you know anything about this movie, know it as Spielberg's one and only bomb, which is not actually technically true, but this is the one. It's a humongous, well, actually, it wasn't even, I was going to say it's a humongous flop. It wasn't even a humongous flop, but it was
a disappointment.
It was a big disappointment, and it was from Spielberg when he was sort of on his hot streak. Mm-hmm. And so I'd never seen it, and somehow, it was being released on Blu-ray for the first time. Okay. So there were articles and interviews popping up with like Bob Gale. That's the interesting thing. Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale wrote the screenplay.
That's kind of where they made Spielberg's acquaintance, right?
I think Zemeckis did a short film, and Spielberg liked it, and then he went on to produce Zemeckis' first film, which is called I Want to Hold Your Hand, which is about a bunch of kids trying to sneak into the Ed Sullivan Beatles performance. And and then I think they said they had this idea, which is funny because it's not a terrible idea. And what it's about is, after Pearl Harbor in California, and I'm sure everywhere in the U.S., panic was heightened about the U.S. being attacked during World War II. And so this is actually based on true events where the military set up like a huge, gun on someone's front lawn, like on the coast. And, some air raid siren went off like a false alarm, and everyone freaked out, in Los Angeles. So they took these elements of true kind of hard to believe things, and they turned it in this big sort of farce, or like sort of like it's a Mad World sort of style comedy. But the reason I think this movie failed, and what makes it sort of fascinating to watch now, is that it is this big bombastic comedy, but it's made by a blockbuster action director.
Sure.
So it's really, really loud.
Okay.
The whole movie is just very frantic, and everyone speaks really loud. Everyone's always screaming. And from what I heard, the script apparently was pretty satirical and fun and zany. But then, they got John Belushi to play sort of a bit part. But if you got John Belushi, and this is right after Animal House and the height of his SNL and everything, you got to get more John Belushi. So they wrote more John Belushi. And I think the extra scene they wrote was basically like him accidentally blowing up a gas station. So it's like, okay. And then Dan Aykroyd in this, and all sorts of other like comedic people this time. So you got to keep giving them more time. And then it becomes this hugely disjointed picture where it's just moments, just sort of like, here's Dan Aykroyd being funny for 5 minutes, and so it never really amounts to a whole lot. And but at the same time, I have to say it is really fascinating to watch, because Spielberg, he's an amazing filmmaker. So watching a movie that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense and never really snags you, but that still is visually like a marvel. Like there's this scene where these guys are at the Santa Monica Pier, and they're watching because there's a Japanese sub that is like gotten lost, and they're basically at the coast of California, and they're going to bomb Los Angeles. So these guys are on the top of the Ferris wheel, and then the submarine attacks the Ferris wheel, and the Ferris wheel comes unhinged and rolls all the way down the Santa Monica Pier. And even for like 1979 special effects, it looks really amazing. So it's just this weird cluster of a movie, where it's just and there's also this amazing, the beginning of Temple of Doom, the Anything Goes sequence, where they're trying to get the anecdote and the diamonds and all that stuff, and it's kind of zany, and there's all these people running everywhere. There's like that scene times 10 at a dance competition, and there's like these zoot suits, because the zoot suit riots were a thing that actually happened, and they try to touch on that. And so these zoot suit guys versus like these military guys like start a fight during a dance competition, and it is like one of those things that we say that we love about Spielberg, where it's like he never cuts. Like he just keeps reframing and moving the camera to all these insane sort of scenarios. And it's I would recommend, if you don't want to watch the whole movie, at least look up this dance sequence on YouTube, because it's really well done. So anyway, I don't regret watching it at all. Being a Spielberg fan, it's just really cool seeing him still try his hardest, but maybe not necessarily pulling something off. But
and he didn't necessarily maybe have the confidence at that time to know what he knew later, in terms of like if it wasn't working, why it wasn't, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe like learning a little bit of restraint and learning what his strengths are, and maybe his strengths don't lend themselves so well to comedy, and that's not even a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like comedy requires a little bit of lulls so you can crescendo again, and this movie is just one big crescendo.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, like comedy is a skill, right? And some, for example, you have like Sylvester Stallone, who should have known fairly early on that comedy wasn't his thing, and yet he made like 8 different comedies that were terrible.
Right. Well, and then Spielberg, after this, went on to make Raiders of the Lost Ark, which many would call one of the greatest action movies of all time. So
he did learn his lesson, presumably.
Yeah, so 1941 probably helped in that happening.
Huh. Well, there we go. So check that. So you saw it on the big screen?
No, I just saw this streaming.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think it's available in HD for the very first time right now.
Oh, nice. Okay. So. Wow. Well, I don't have anything nearly as exciting. I as you know, I don't get to watch many things very often because of the way my schedule is, because I have 4 people in my life who drain all of my time, and it becomes very problematic, right? Actually, I have to say that this past weekend, it was kind of a momentous occasion for me and the wife, because we got to go out and leave all 4 children to be taken care of by relatives, so that we could really have a night out to ourselves.
Nice.
Kind of. So we went to this banquet, and we had dinner there and stuff, and we got done there, and then it was like we still had some time, so it was like we were like drunk on freedom. It's like, what do we do?
Yeah. Well, we're not going home.
Like, of course not. She was like, oh, let's walk through the downtown area here. And I was like, no, why don't we just take the scenic drive here? And we were just going back and forth. Ultimately, we held up a convenience store. That was what we decided on. So we're now wanted, but boy, what a ride. So that was nice. I do have to say the one thing that I have been watching is Batman 1966, the
Yes.
60 series. So one of the perks of my job in terms of doing writing and whatnot is that I get nice little freebies that show up at my door. And a very nice freebie that arrived at my doorstep last week was the complete series set of Batman 66 on Blu-ray, mind you. And I was as happy as a clam as I popped this thing open and watched it. And man, what a great show.
Really? Oh, I'm so glad to hear it holds up, because I grew up on this show, adoring this show, and I haven't seen it in years. So
it's I think I said this on our very first episode, right? I grew up watching, we both grew up in Chicago. They used to show reruns on Fox 32.
Fox 32.
Every day, and I remember in 1989, summer of '89, visiting the States because we were still living in Saudi Arabia, and this is pre-internet, pre-social media, so I had no knowledge of like movies that were coming. So my first inkling of the Tim Burton Batman was when everybody was talking about it, because it was just weeks away from release. You know what I mean? And I saw pictures. I saw the pictures of Michael Keaton in the costume. It was amazing. But I remember seeing a poster of Keaton standing in front of the Batmobile. It's kind of that iconic shot.
I remember that.
I'm talking
very
about.
well.
And it says Michael Keaton, Batman. And I'm like, Michael Keaton? Who the hell? Like, Adam West, Batman?
Right.
I wasn't even like Beetlejuice. Because I didn't know who Michael Keaton was.
Yeah.
But I was just like, as a matter of principle, Adam West is Batman. Hello?
Yeah. I think everybody at that time, especially. I mean, that was
a thing.
Usually, who else did we have?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of interesting actually, because I was watching the sort of the behind the scenes featurettes on there, and there's some really interesting stuff. But they talk about how like the 60s Batman show, every kid went through this period of like they loved it and then they hated it, and then now that as they get older they love it again. And I was like, I never went through the hate it phase.
No, me neither.
And I think part of it is because it just kind of went away.
Yeah. It was ubiquitous when we were kids. I mean, it was on reruns all the time. And it just went away, like you said. I mean,
they just stopped showing them,
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I never had a chance to fall out of love with it. And I never was of a mindset of like, oh, these movies are how it's supposed to be, and that show's terrible. Like I never had that happen,
Ditto.
But it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's very, very funny. The double entendres are very transparent now that we're grown ups.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. It's very like, I mean, you get that they're playing multiple levels. And Adam West, man, his ability to just do a hilarious line absolutely straight is quite funny,
Yeah. Well, tell me about two things I'm curious about. How does it look? What is that like watching that show in high definition?
Well, I'll tell you this: Cesar Romero did not shave his mustache.
So that's something we've heard for years.
Yeah,
but now you can actually see it. I don't remember it standing out.
Yeah, and I think okay. So for those of you who don't know, Cesar Romero was the actor, and he was very famous for being kind of the Latin lover, and he was a famous actor at the time, and he was cast as the Joker. And his one caveat for playing the Joker was, well, I'll do it, but I ain't shaving this mustache because this mustache is my trademark thing, and I can't grow it back. Apparently, so they basically slathered white grease paint over his mustache. And that's one of those things where when we were kids, partially because we were watching on like standard def tube televisions, remember those things? Yeah, exactly. And part of it is, I think, the imagination of a child where you're able to make things... I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you're able to make things look better than they actually are in your mind.
Yeah.
So I think there was a little bit of that at work, but on a high definition screen, 42 inches Blu-ray. Oh my gosh, the Joker totally has a mustache.
How funny. Well, does it look like
it's clear as day?
What I'm curious too is, when I watched like Sorcerer, which was a beat up movie, but
Yeah.
a lot of it when they restored it, I mean, it looked like they could have shot it yesterday. Like, I mean, do you get that sort of sense at times, or?
I mean, it doesn't look like they could have shot it yesterday. I would say it looks about as good as that show is ever going to look.
Sure.
In terms of, I would compare it to the 1960s Star Trek, which is also on Blu-ray, and they've also cleaned up. I mean, it looks fantastic. It looks really, really good.
Yeah. I'd recently read about oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, you can see the seams on the mask and the costume.
So awesome.
I mean, it's really, yeah.
I'm hoping Amazon does a deal on this, one of their deals of the day.
They will. They will.
Yeah.
Christmas is happening. Black Friday is coming up.
Yeah. But, well, no, I was just going to say real quick, I read about The Wonder Years,
Yes.
which had just come out on DVD. I don't know if it came out on Blu-ray, maybe just DVD. But apparently that show was shot on 16 millimeter film, but then transferred to video and then cut on video, mastered on video and then put out on TV on video. So it can only look as good to a point, even now.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, so I was just kind of wondering, like, I don't know if you know, but like I was just wondering how they treated this remastering process. Like,
well, I mean,
probably better than that one.
Yeah, all the original elements are there, and they definitely remastered it. They cleaned it up. It looks great.
Yeah. Well, then I wanted to ask about the bonus features. How's that?
So what have they got? I mean, they've got a half-hour interview with Adam West where he talks about his life and stuff, and it's kind of interesting when you realize that, like, Adam West is still with us. And when you talk about like comparable icons, for me it's like Adam West and William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy,
Yeah.
And so to the fact that he's still around and he was able to see this show actually make it to home video after decades, literally decades, where it was just in legal limbo, and that's another important part of this story, right? The reason this release is such a big deal is because 20th Century Fox, which produced the show, and Warner Brothers, which owns the characters, and then the family of Bill Dozier, who produced the show, were kind of at this legal logjam where nobody was willing to give up a piece of the pie in order to just get this thing put out.
Right.
And I wonder, like, that's almost benefited the show because it's given it kind of like this mythical quality.
Right, that's true.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, the 10 years before this show was the George Reeves Superman, which is out on DVD. And it's like nobody really talks about that,
Right.
So maybe that's part of it,
Yeah. But cool.
But it's good stuff. So I highly recommend it. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
That being said, you mentioned Sorcerer, the William Friedkin movie, and I think that provides a good segue into a listener letter.
It always does, Zaki. It always does.
So I got a letter here from Daniel, and he emailed us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com, and he says, in your last episode discussion about Sorcerer, you mentioned that William Friedkin didn't do anything good after that. I'd offer that his
Zaki said.
I did say that. That's true. And Brian agreed.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Daniel begs to differ because he says, I'd offer that his HBO remake of 12 Angry Men, starring Jack Lemmon and a bunch of other great actors, is pretty great. That was from 1997.
Okay.
And I just want to point out Daniel is wrong because the remake of 12 Angry Men actually aired on Showtime, so he has invalidated his entire email. So you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Well,
actually, it's kind of funny.
You told me that when I remember.
Yeah. Well, I don't think what you just said has any bearing on what we are talking about. It's funny actually because I read Daniel's email, and the next day in my class I was going to screen 12 Angry Men, the original 12 Angry Men, and just I couldn't find a version of it on YouTube that had a decent print. So I looked on Amazon Prime, and they have the William Friedkin one, which I'd actually never seen it. So I watched it for the first time. after receiving Daniel's email. And yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, you've seen the original 12 Angry Men, I'm assuming, right?
I've seen the original, yeah.
Yeah, with Henry Fonda, etc. So the new one, it stars Jack Lemmon in the Henry Fonda role, but it's actually got a pretty impressive cast because James Gandolfini is in it, Michael T. Williamson, William Peterson, Hume Cronin, Ossie Davis, Edward James Olmos, Tony Danza.
Wow.
I mean, not a bad lineup,
Mm-hmm.
And it's different. It's interesting because it's essentially the same script, but to see it, it's like watching a stage performed by a road company versus the Broadway troupe,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, I've seen the original one so many times, I'm used to the rhythms and the way the characters are presented, and so Friedkin takes the same script but he presents it in kind of different ways, and so I would recommend it. Yeah, I think the original is still better, but I do think the remake is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go.
There we go.
Yeah. Moving on, I wanted to share a brief snippet of my interview with Jon Stewart that I alluded to last week. Now, you can hear the entirety of this interview on the new episode of the Diffused Congruence podcast, which I co-host with Pervez Ahmed, and that talks about the American Muslim experience. And this episode actually is great because in addition to the Jon Stewart Maziar Bahari interview, we also have an in-depth chat with Dean Obedallah, who is a stand-up comedian. He's a very funny guy, and he used to work at SNL actually. But just to kind of tease that a little bit, here is a small snippet of my chat with Jon Stewart. So let's go ahead and play that.
John, in the press notes you mentioned that you felt a certain amount of guilt in terms of that was a motivating factor in doing this story. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that and maybe talk about what was going through your mind when you found out what had happened to Maziar and sort of the role that you...
I mean, I think that's, we joke about that to some extent. It's not that it was more concern than guilt. Obviously, and I hate to spoiler alert this, but generally we're not actually in the places we say we are at The Daily Show. It's usually it's a picture that we're standing in front of, and I probably shouldn't be giving that away. But generally, we are not actually traveling to these war zones. So this is one of the first times that we'd ever done that, and to have all the individuals that we had interviewed be arrested, obviously within the context, though, of a much larger authoritarian crackdown in a culture. So it's not that we were unaware. We did not think, oh my God, 3 people that we interviewed are arrested and no one else, so this is correlation equals causation. We didn't feel that. We felt a concern that something that we might be doing would be damaging to helping them get out. Or was there something on the flip side that we could do that could help them get out? And we were actually probably more in touch with another gentleman, Ibrahim Yazdi's family, who had also been arrested. His family, his son lived in New Jersey, so he came on the program to talk about his father's case. And they were urging, and all the people that were working on Maziar's behalf were urging us to continue talking about what had happened during that time and to keep trying to bring attention to it. And that's sort of one of the reasons Maziar was so keen on getting the story out is there are so many people now who are in this same situation, and you want to publicize their plight more than bury it.
Okay, so there we go.
Awesome.
So that's the good stuff right there. So hit up iTunes, go to Diffuse Congruence, and check out our latest episode for more of that. That being said, shall we move on to some headlines?
Moving right along.
Well, so 2 weeks ago, the Fast and Furious 7 trailer dropped, or as the film is now officially called, Furious 7.
Furious 7.
Furious 7. So let's first play a little bit of audio from that.
Dominic Terrell, you don't know me. You're about to.
Looks like the sons of London have followed us home.
Remember Owen Shaw? This is his big bad brother.
We're being hunted. One last ride.
Get low.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
And And we're back. That's actual audio from the trailer. Just so you know. Okay, so the way this trailer was premiered is kind of interesting. There was actually a red carpet event to premiere the trailer.
Uh-huh.
So they had the stars of the movie. Everybody except Dwayne Johnson actually was there wearing tuxes. People were being interviewed on the red carpet. And for what? This 2.5-minute assemblage of car chases and partial nudity. So I'm just wondering, is this the new normal now for debuting trailers?
Well, yeah. Like, I don't understand.
What's the end game?
What's the end game? Like, obviously this cost a lot of money. So what was the strategy behind this? What justified this cost? Everyone was going to watch this trailer and be excited about it anyway, and none of us got to go to the premiere. You know what I mean? Like, so what benefit did this hold?
Yeah, and by the way, the trailer has been viewed, a crazy amount of times via social media.
Yeah.
So I mean, it. The audience that was going to find it, or that was going to want to find it, found it.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you wonder. I don't know. What do you think of the trailer, though?
The trailer looked great. I mean, we've talked about this before. We both like the series, and it's just one of those things. I'm sure we've said this before, but it's amazing that the 7th installment in a movie might be the one everyone's looking forward to the most. I mean, what has that ever happened?
But for somewhat morbid reasons.
Well, okay. I mean, let's put that aside and say that we didn't live in that world, that sad reality that Paul Walker is not with us any longer. I mean, these movies, there's more anticipation with each one. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, people would be looking forward to this just as much as they'd look forward to any of the ones they were looking forward to most. Yeah. And what other series? I mean, you could say James Bond or something like that, but those are a little different, I think. I mean, this is, I don't know. It's such a weird phenomenon. They really figured out how to turn that series around and make it something that just shows no signs of stopping. So
it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, I saw the trailer and I was just like, you know what? Take my money now.
Yeah.
I'll line up now. And and I say this as somebody who saw his very first Fast and Furious movie last summer, or 2 summers ago. So yeah, I'm a newbie, but I read from the same hymnal as all y'all.
Well, no, I just kind of dig when a trailer. I just watched the Imitation Game trailer.
Okay.
With Benedict Cumberbatch and Keira Knightley about the Enigma machine or whatever, and watching it, I was like, this looks really good, and it just kept going, and I was like, this looks really good. And then it kept going. I was like, stop! Like, you're showing me the whole movie. It's like, then this conflict happened, and then they solved that conflict. I'm like, well, I don't want to know they solved it. Like, I want to find out when I go see the movie. And so, what I dig is sometimes when a trailer is like, look, we're going to just show you like a minute and a half of this movie. Like, you dig this? And that's kind of what this one did. You know what I mean? It just shows a solid portion of like a heist they're pulling. And right. I was like, that's all I need. That's it. I'm there. This looks really rad. And I don't want to know what else happens. So, yeah, I like it, trailers styled like this.
It's actually funny. You mentioned Imitation Game. I actually had an opportunity to see that last week because the filmmaker is going to be in town, and so some of the publicists reached out to me about possibly doing that. And unfortunately, because of my schedule, I wasn't able to do it. The screening was going to be at ILM in the Presidio.
Oh, cool.
And then afterwards, Keira Knightley was going to be there doing a Q&A, so I missed out on all of that.
You fool.
Well, and this is the thing, right? I know, seriously, because I'm like, oh man, I want to visit ILM,
For real.
I want to hear Keira Knightley when she's like, oh, I did this movie.
I hate you guys.
But you know what happened is that my oldest kid, is in Boy Scouts, so he had like a Boy Scout meeting.
Wow, how fun!
Boy Scouts. At the same time,
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, right? Because I'm at a point now where it's like, okay, I have to realize that I'm now, and this is kind of like what we're going to talk about later with the film we're going to talk about, but like I'm creating memories for him.
Right.
And it's just, I mean, that was my thought a few weeks ago before I saw the movie that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Where they specifically allude to that. But I was literally like, do I want to be in that position where it's like, oh yeah, my dad like never took me to Boy Scout meetings because he was busy doing it.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like
true. It becomes a balance.
You know, that's the thing. Like, I was literally like, do I want to be Robin Williams in Hook?
Right.
Before he goes to Neverland, you know. That's the criterion I use. Is I compare myself to.
And a bunch of weird feral kids will have to get you to snap out of it. And
yeah. Well, I have feral kids in my house, so
yes,
they're already living with me. So. But regardless, so Fast and Furious 7 looks pretty solid. I think we're on board for that, and that comes out next April, so it's kicking off a pretty packed summer.
And think about it. I mean, is next year Batman? No, that's 2016, isn't it?
Yeah, we've established that's a ways away.
I forgot because I was going to say that was March, and then you got April, then whatever. That's so far. All right, go ahead.
Well, I mean, while we're talking about movies that are far ahead, I mean, Marvel Studios released their plans for Phase 3, and I think the title of the next phase of Marvel is "Hey DC, Suck It." I think that was their big premiere event that they had.
Yeah.
So let's check this list out. Now we already last time we went through the list of DC movies, and at least on my end, I was stridently apathetic. We're slightly less so, but I think we're both kind of on the same page that it's like prove it before we get too excited.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to know what you think of the Phase 3 film. So we already talked about Captain America: Civil War, which is coming out in 2016.
Right.
Speaking of what you're saying, it's a month after Batman vs. Superman.
Uh-huh.
And then that same summer, we have Doctor Strange. The following year, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. And
so 2017 we're talking about here.
So now we're in 2017, at which point Marvel switches to a 3 movies a year schedule. So they're up in the ante by one. So we have Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Thor, Ragnarok, and Black Panther, all 3 in 2017. And then in 2018, we have Avengers Infinity War, Part 1, Captain Marvel, which will be the first female-led Marvel Studios movie. And then the Inhumans. And then in 2019, we have Avengers Infinity War Part 2, The Revenge. That's what
I assume.
I assume, yeah. If not, it should be, right?
Yeah.
So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 movies that they've got scheduled from between 2016 and 2019. Now, actually, before we get to your thoughts, here's what I think is kind of interesting about this. If you notice, a movie that is not included in Phase 3 is Ant-Man. I thought that's kind of interesting because that comes out this coming summer after Avengers 2.
Well, is that part of Phase 2?
That would be considered part of Phase 2, which I think is kind of interesting because up until now the assumption has been that that all the phases converge in an Avengers movie. So my I mean, this is just me, like, the geek part of my brain doesn't shut off. I'm wondering if Ant-Man is going to give us information that ties into Avengers 2. So in other words, Avengers 2 comes out, and then a few months later, Ant-Man gives us sort of some relevant backstory on it. Right. That's my take. And the reason I say that, is because in the like all the press stuff about Avengers: Age of Ultron, it talks about how Tony Stark revives a dormant defense program, which becomes Ultron. Right. And I'm wondering, well, maybe that's something that we see first brought about in Ant-Man.
Sure.
Because Michael Douglas plays Hank Pym, who was around in the 50s or 60s or whatever. And we know that John Slattery is in Ant-Man playing Tony Stark's dad. Right? So what if Ultron is something that Hank Pym and Tony Stark's dad came up with to Tony Stark then tries to revive it, and all hell breaks loose. So we get the backstory in Ant-Man. I don't know, I'm just spitballing, but it sounds interesting.
It sounds like something that they would do and pull off.
Right? That's right.
So I have a little context here, if you can recall off the top of your head.
Yes.
So this is a grand plan. This is a lot of films, but this is going through like 2019?
2019. Yeah.
So the DC plan, when was that going till?
I think 2020, I believe.
2020. Okay, so I guess similar.
They're just, it's like a giant pissing contest at this point.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, again, it's worth, by the time Avengers Infinity War Part 2 comes out, you and I will both be pushing 40. Hopefully we'll still be doing the show.
But young at heart.
But young, always young.
Oh yeah, young.
Now I gotta say, of all of these films, and I'm excited by all of them. I think they sound great. Black Panther is the one that has me most excited.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know that character, so and that's the thing that's kind of cool too. I mean, some of these are little, lesser known titles, and I like Guardians of the Galaxy for goodness sake. But like, I'm excited to see what I will assume will be the good version of these characters. You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of interesting how Guardians of the Galaxy bought them Black Panther and Captain Marvel and Inhumans.
Right.
And Ant-Man, I'm sure, because I think there's a whole mess of people who are going to watch those movies now because they dug Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But Black Panther stars Chadwick Boseman, who this is absolutely true. I'm not making this up. When I saw 42, it's called 42, right?
Yep. Yeah.
He played Jackie Robinson in that. I was like, he should play the Black Panther.
Oh, nice. Prescient.
So, I know. So yet again, we see how awesome I am. I'm very happy about that. So this is the Marvel slate. As I said, we're going to be superheroed out very shortly.
Oh man, and
it's
how?
Going to be.
And then,
and that's my question. Is burnout going to be happening?
Man, I'm starting to feel it already. So maybe.
I feel like at this point, and maybe this is just me, but I think I speak for a lot of people. The Marvel Studios ones are not the ones people are feeling hinky about.
No,
it's everything else.
Yeah, but I will say that I don't probably feel the lasting effects of those movies as maybe they would maybe want me to, or I used to with films when things were sort of new and exciting. I mean, for example, Captain America 2, which I really liked a lot. Yeah. But I don't know when I'm ever going to watch it again.
Yeah, but that's, you know what, though? That's most movies now, just in general, for us as we get older. You know what I mean?
And there's that also. But I just mean because there'll be another one. There'll be like 4 other ones. Yeah. And like I can't watch all of them like multiple times. You know what I mean? You just kind of find the 1 or 2 that you just do.
Well, you know what it is? It's when you look at the long game Marvel's playing, and not just these movies, but also they have their Netflix TV series.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right, Daredevil.
Right, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, etc. And then they have their TV stuff. So what they're really doing is creating these separate mini franchises, but the franchise is Marvel Studios.
Right.
And so I think what you're going to see a lot of is people in years to come just sitting down and doing a rewatch of every single phase, going through and like so in other words, not just like, oh, let's watch the Iron Man movies. They're going to watch every single movie in phase 1, every single movie in phase 2, and I think that interconnectivity is a boon to them in that sense.
That's true, but I mean, remember when we were younger? It was like
I don't remember, unfortunately. It's fading away rapidly.
It wasn't that long ago. But when we were, we'd watch the Star Wars trilogy, like marathon it.
Yep.
Like that's the only series I can remember growing up that anyone would ever marathon who wasn't even like a film geek. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're all going to get together on a Friday night and watch marathon the Star Wars trilogy or something.
What? No Back to the Future?
Well, yes. I mean, you could. I don't remember doing it with as many people. I would do it maybe, but that is accessible. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
like these
Yeah.
films, this is a lot of films. You know, when you say like watching all of like phase 1, 2, 3, I mean that's a project. You know what I mean? Not saying you shouldn't make those films for that reason, for marathoning reasons, but yeah, that's a lot of
that's kind of the beauty of it, right? Because I mean, the Iron Man films hang together completely separately.
right. Oh, but I'm not saying what they've done isn't brilliant and doesn't hang well, but it's just interesting when you talk about fatigue. And
by the way, I just want to say people say the same thing about me. He's brilliant and hangs well, so I'm very proud of that. Moving on. God help us, moving on. Now we're talking about how Marvel Studios are kind of doing the stuff that everybody is looking forward to. Now let's take a very rapid left turn into the stuff people are maybe not looking forward to as much when we talk about superhero cinema. This is a story that just broke yesterday. Now I have to say, for over the past, several months, we've really made merry sport of this Fantastic Four reboot that they're doing. It's been our piñata over here. And I would argue with good cause, especially with the latest news out here. And we talked about this last time, how like in the absence of official information coming out, the void is being filled by just whatever we're able to get, or just supposition, right? Mm-hmm. So Toby Kebbell, who plays Doctor Doom in the remake, right? And he I don't know if you'd necessarily know his face, but he played Koba in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Okay. Right. He was so he gave an interview about the film, and I think he was talking about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but of course Fantastic Four came up, and they said, so Doctor Doom, like what's the deal with him? And before I even get to what he said, it's worth pointing out that if you're a comic book fan, Doctor Doom is it, man. He's the primo Marvel Comics villain, mm-hmm. right? And I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the previous version of the Fantastic Four, but I will defend those for the most part, except how they portrayed Doctor Doom. Right. Because I think they botched it, and they cast Julian McMahon, and he's very smarmy, and he came across like Christian Troy behind a metal mask, mm-hmm. and they lost sort of the majesty of this character who's the ruler of a country, and he's a dictator, and so he's very royal and regal and majestic. And instead, that in their bid to sort of reinvent the Fantastic Four, they've said, well, instead of making him the ruler of a country, we should make Doctor Doom a blogger. Yeah. Right. So this is the exact quote. He says, "The Doom in ours. I'm a programmer, very antisocial programmer, and on blogging sites, I'm Doom. So that's his handle. Yeah. And by the way, Doctor Doom, his real name is Victor Von Doom, right, in the comics. Mm-hmm. But actually, in the film, he's Victor Domashev. Okay. So I read this, and my head literally exploded. Literally. And it is like, I read it and I was just like, are you kidding me? Right? And he goes on, and by the way, Toby Kebbell, I don't think he's, I mean God bless him, he's just talking about the gig, right? I don't think he's trying to incite people's anger, but he gives this quote where he's like, yeah, it was cool, man. Josh Trank, the whole deal, the lo-fi way he did it, the ultra real. And I'm like, perfect, because the Fantastic Four, we want them to be lo-fi and ultra real. Ultra real. Those are the specific buzzwords we want to associate with that franchise. Yeah. Well, go ahead.
You're aware, with actors, when they go out and press junkets, they're trained. Yeah. Like, they don't just go out there and talk. Like, they are trained. Like, studios tell them what to say, tell them what not to say. They're coached heavily. Yeah. So when I was reading this, I was like, oh man. So is he in trouble? I don't know. I wonder. I mean, how much trouble can an actor really get in? But like, sure. But at the same time, I wonder if like a ton of Fox people just like collectively slap their foreheads. What was this kid thinking?
I mean, it's so baffling to me, because I mean, here's honestly, I've come fully full circle on this. Here's my new theory: is that Josh Trank is a deep cover operative working for Marvel Studios.
How can we get the film rights back to us?
How can we get it back? Let's
Fantastic Four must fail.
You know what? If this is a success, I will come on here and I will fully 100% admit I was wrong. But based on everything we know so far, this is a catastrophe.
Yeah.
Because I just don't know who the audience is. Because the mainstream audience is not hungry for a Fantastic Four movie, and the fans are pissed off at this Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Yeah, and if we learned anything from Marvel, it's like just be true to the source material and what it is. Like, don't shy away from the weirder elements of it. Like, embrace it and figure out how to make it all. Be earnest with it. And,
it's what's hilarious to me, because the previous films, they were like, oh, we can't make him like the dictator of a country, that's too unbelievable, let's make him an industrialist, like an evil industrialist. And
right.
Fans at the time were like, oh, come on, what the hell, you ruined Dr. Doom. And it's like compared, like now it's like, hey, so Julian McMahon's looking pretty good right about now. What's he doing? So I don't understand that, but that's coming out this August, so we will be talking about that in very short order before too long.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, let us not think that Sony, who have the Spider-Man franchise rights, are ignoring what Fox is doing, because they're like, hey, you want to ruin Doctor Doom? Watch us ruin the whole franchise. Now, we've been talking about how Sony seems to have no idea what they're doing with the Spider-Man franchise, and I think today's news, if it is in fact true, worth pointing out if it's a caveat, if it is true, proves that they have no idea what they're doing.
I can't believe that this is actually true.
So, by way of background, the rumor, and again, let's preface, this is just rumor so far, is that Sony is planning a Spider-Man spin-off / prequel about, wait for it, not Richard and Mary Parker as agents, not young Peter Parker, no, the most crucial character of the Spider-Man mythos, without whom you have nothing. Aunt May.
No.
This is like April Fools. This is like April Fools.
Yeah. There's no.
So now this rumor originated at Latino Review, and it's worth pointing out that site, they're
like 50-50.
It's
a very strong 50-50.
It's an absolute coin toss. But the other thing is, like, it's so off the wall that it's like, why would you run with that unless it was
April Fool's Day? Yeah, like that's just too weird.
So per Latino Review, let me hold on. Sorry, my computer's hanging up.
You know what? I'll just say this.
Yeah,
I don't want to see the Sally Field version because that could accidentally be good. I want to see the Sam Raimi, the woman. I unfortunately I don't know her name, but the older woman who played Aunt May in that one. I want to see
Rosemary Harris.
Yes, I want to see that version.
I don't know why I know that, by the way, but there it is.
Yeah.
Well, so okay, here we go. An Aunt May movie, a movie about Aunt May as a youth before she was shouldered with the responsibility of raising Peter Parker. The target
responsibility. Stupid Sony. You gotta get that word. They're just like, as long as we say that word.
The target mood is some sort of espionage story in the vein of AMC's Mad Men, which sounds like a way of saying classier Agent Carter without name-dropping Marvels.
Yeah, good call.
Now, this is absolutely. I mean, this is insanity writ large. Like, this is, and I posted this on Twitter earlier, and I was like, I call BS on this because I refuse to believe anyone at Sony is that stupid that they would think anybody wants to see this movie.
Maybe, I had this thought, what if it was like a test? Like someone brought it up in a meeting, they're like, I have no idea this could possibly work. Leak it, see how people respond, and we'll just, go act accordingly.
It's like, how do you think people are going to respond?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
What's wrong with people, Brian?
So there has never been a backstory of any kind related to this for Aunt May before, right?
Well, no, that's actually not true. There was a comic book in the early 2000s. This is true, called Trouble.
Okay.
Right? And if you look at the cover, it looks it shows these two teenage girls wearing halter tops, looking all sexy and whatever, and those are actually Aunt May and Peter Parker's mom, Mary Parker, when they're teenagers. Here, in fact, I'm gonna while we're talking, I'm gonna find an image of that cover and I'm gonna show it to you. So
I have something in my head actually, which is just absurd. So if it matches that image, then I will be pleasantly surprised.
Okay, here I'm sending you a link right now, Brian.
Okay.
Here you go.
Shut up. That's not real.
That's real.
Shut up. That's. I'm seriously half believing you right now. That's really that's true.
Look at the top left corner. It says Marvel right there.
Is that a drawing or is that a picture?
That's a picture.
Okay, but inside the drawing, they look like these girls?
Yes.
I swear, I'm not kidding. It looks like Zaki just sent me some sort of cinematic softcore porn movie poster or something.
Basically, like if the FBI showed up and searched Brian's computer right now, he would have an awkward explanation to make. Basically,
it's very. It looks like, you know what it looks like. It looks like an oversexed tween, like Babysitter's Club novel cover or something.
That's exactly. Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And actually, here, Brian, I'm going to send you the other images in that series.
All right, so well, the point is that this does kind of exist.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a bad idea. Is the point?
It's terrible, terrible idea. But anyway, so let's just say we think it's hilarious. I don't think it's going to happen. You probably don't think it's going to happen.
But yes, it's worth mocking and making sport of. So I just sent you another link. You can check that out.
All right. Shut up! This is not real. Zaki, you're lying to me. This is not real.
It's true.
Are you dead serious?
Yeah, so basically, one of them two, I don't know because I haven't read the series, but one of those is Aunt May. Just remember that. Peter Parker's elderly aunt.
Who is this for? I
have no idea.
We have to link this. We'll link this.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and post those on our Facebook page, Brian.
All right, whatever.
All right, so that's the shenanigans going on at Sony. We do have some happy returns. We have to say, not every franchise that's being dug up is necessarily a bad thing. Such as moving back to Disney, Toy Story 4 was announced this week.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Now, before you get into it, it's worth pointing out the third Toy Story is thought by many to be a perfect ending to that franchise.
In my opinion, it is a perfect ending to that franchise. So I'm not going to be one of these people that I get it. It's a business, and you have these characters that everybody loves. Like, you can't stop making money off of them. I get it. Right. And also, I trust Pixar, even though they've had, some softer films recently. Like, I feel like these are their, like, mascots. These are their representatives. You know what I mean? They're golden child characters. So it's not like they're not going to put out garbage. Right. This. Like, if they're going to do it, they know what they're doing. So I do trust that. But there is something a little bittersweet about it because I don't want to not see these characters again. Right. But at the same time, that was a perfect ending. But you could say that was a perfect ending to the, if you want to call it, the Andy trilogy. You know what I mean?
Trilogy. Okay.
Right? I mean, it's the story, where he's tied to Andy. And so that was perfect. And those three exist in this perfect little whatever. So then now you can tell these other stories. Like, I know they did that Halloween special, which actually I really liked.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, so let's, it only makes sense. I guess it's just, you can't help but feel a little bit disappointed because something that felt so perfect with a little bow on top, you don't want to pull the bow.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Here's what I will say. I think Toy Story 3, unlike many trilogies, ended just as strong as it started.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the reason. It's almost like I'm kind of like, well, you got to know when to hold and when to fold, and it's like at some point they're going to put one out that isn't as good.
Right. Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people are worried about, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then again, you know, I mean, kids are going to love it, and they are the audience after all.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And it's a you know, the older I get and the more I work in this industry, it's a business, you know, and you gotta do what you gotta do.
So we're cautiously optimistic about Toy Story 3. Rashida Jones is writing it, by the way.
What? Didn't know that.
Yeah, her and whoever wrote Celeste and Jessie Forever with her, because I think she co-wrote that, right? Yeah. So
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah. So there you go.
You know what though? My first thought is like, I don't know about that. Just when you say the Jessie and Celeste Forever, because whether or not that's a good movie, I haven't seen it. It just, you know, I can kind of picture it, I guess. But you know, I mean, that's what they did with Toy Story 3. They got the guy who did Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Arndt, and you'd be like, huh? But the thing is when you make a Pixar movie, that is just whoever writes it, they're just laying a foundation, and the house hasn't even begun. You know, like that is a brain trust. Pixar making a Pixar film, and there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen, and and it works. Whatever recipe they're doing, it works. So it's interesting, just who they choose to start the foundation for their films.
And when you think about it, these characters are now iconic. They've been around for a long time. They're part of the cultural firmament now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's weird, actually. I believe today is the 20th anniversary of the release of The Santa Claus. Think about that. It's been 20 years since that movie came out.
Yeah.
That just makes me feel old.
Yeah.
So think about it this way. When The Santa Claus came out, Star Wars was not 20 years old.
Wow. That's weird to think about.
Yeah. Because Star Wars was, it would have been 18 years old. So,
yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, that like relative time thing always makes me feel old. And speaking of relative time making you feel old, we'll be talking about that.
Interstellar, yes.
Later in the episode. But very quickly, another franchise coming back, and this one I'm assuming you're a little bit more excited about, is Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are teaming up again for another Evil Dead, this time as a TV series.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like all the originals, and yeah, I was very surprised to read that.
So in the interest of full disclosure, I've not seen either Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2. I have only seen Army of Darkness, and I just fine. But I'm not by any means part of sort of the faithful fans, who've been very vocal about that franchise and wanting a continuation. What do you think about this?
It's funny. At the risk of losing cool points, I'm right there with you. I've never seen Evil Dead 1 or 2. And I've seen Army of Darkness, and same. Like I thought it was fun, but it didn't necessarily stick with me like it seems to have for a lot of people.
All right, so it's coming back as a TV series on Starz, and
we probably won't see it. All right, moving on.
Moving on. we have nothing to say beyond that.
Nobody has stars. Okay, moving on.
Kind of true, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we need to obviously discuss the big Star Wars news, which you almost forgot about, by the way.
Yeah, news comes so fast and furious these days. It's like, the huge story like yesterday feels like 2 weeks ago. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Well, what is the big news, Brian? What is the big Star Wars news?
Star Wars 7 has a title.
And it is called Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, Star Wars 7 Electric Boogaloo.
That's what I was pulling for, and
yeah. No, it is called The Force Awakens.
What do you think about that title, Brian?
I'm cool with it. I remember, that's the thing. If this had been the fourth film, it would seem like, I don't know, it seems weird, I can't picture it. But we've been through this 3 times. It's like the Phantom Menace. I don't know, seems kind of weird. I don't know. Like now I'm used to it. Attack of the Clones. That's kind of goofy. I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. Like it just keeps happening. And now I'm like, Force Awakens. Okay, got it. Like, I don't think it sounds bad. I don't think it wasn't like, hell yeah. Like I gotta say, Return of the Jedi, I know I'm of a certain vintage where like I just grew up with that title. I think that is one of the coolest titles of all time. Like just seeing it and saying Return of the Jedi. Like, it just sounds rad. Like, you know what I mean? Like that I don't know, that title really stirs me still. The title does. So I have to say, like, The Force Awakens does feel like, okay, like it just sounds like part of a serial, you know?
It feels very fanficky to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I don't have any bad feelings toward it, you know?
No,
whatever.
I'll
Once we
be
see the
honest.
movie, it'll take on a personality. I think right now we have nothing to tie it to.
Yeah, once we identify it with something, that's true. I mean, I remember when The Phantom Menace, the title was first revealed, I remember a lot of people were like, that's got to be a fake title.
Right.
And then I remember when Attack of the Clones, the title was revealed, people were like, well, that's just a crappy title.
Right.
And I remember Ewan McGregor first found out about it like during an interview.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, that's terrible. but I gotta say, one thing I love about Ewan McGregor is his candor.
Yeah, he's so honest.
Did you see this interview he gave a few weeks ago where he was talking about, like, people were like, oh, what do you think of Star Wars fans?
No.
So it was in Details magazine, right? And they were like, you know, people kind of make fun of Star Wars fans or whatever. Like, what's been your experience with them? And he's like, I've never met Star Wars fans. Like, I've never gone to the conventions. He's like, this is his quote. He's like, the people I meet are the FFers who want me to sign Star Wars photos so they can sell them on the internet. Or the people at premieres who are crushing children against barriers to get me to sign their effing picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Wow.
They're not fans. They're parasitical lowlifes and effing wankers.
What? Wow. That's sad. I mean, because obviously he knows that he does mean a lot to people who, you know, like kids and things like that. That's too bad that he hasn't been able to experience that.
Yeah,
That's what he associates with being tied with Star Wars. That's too bad.
To get me to sign their effing picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I always remember that, you know, the video that you sent me of him on that British talk show.
Oh, so funny.
Where he's talking about making Revenge of the Sith, you know, and I think I have to think that given the chance to return to the role, he would take it just so that he could have a more pleasant experience in that universe than what he did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I don't know. So anyway, The Force Awakens, so that's episode 7 that comes out a year from now, actually, Brian. How weird is that?
So far away.
It's so, but it's not though. That's the weird thing.
It isn't. You're right. Like, once we start seeing trailers, and then there's going to be the Vanity Fair photo shoot and the blah 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 blah. I think next year there's going to be a lot of like teasing out of it, which will keep whetting my appetite. So, I'm not whetting my appetite. I'm already hungry for it. But I mean, it's going to keep dropping breadcrumbs for me to chew on until dinner is ready. For some reason, keep talking in metaphors.
And the trailer is going to be out soon, so that's the other thing.
Supposedly.
Well, the trailer supposedly has already been cut, and John Williams has composed new music for it.
Wow.
So things are getting real, son. That's all I'm saying.
Things are getting real.
Yeah, up in here, up in this piece.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on before we are involved in an accidental gangland shooting. So some big new releases to talk about.
Oh man, so many.
Shall we? Well, we have a spoiler wall coming up. Should we give our thoughts on stuff beforehand and then go into it? How do we want to do this?
How do I do this with so many?
Well, we have 3 big movies.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Big Hero 6. I've seen. Brian, I don't think you have.
No.
I don't really need to use spoilers for it. It's a really, really good movie. Go see it. There's my recommendation.
Well, real quick, let me ask, because this is a Marvel movie done by Disney. Whereas the Marvel movies that we've seen so far, the live-action ones, they're basically Marvel movies that Disney has the pleasure of distributing, right? But this is a Disney animated film, so correct. I feel like Disney's been on the upswing here with Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, whatever. So Big Hero 6, I mean, where does this stand with those? I mean, is this continuing the trend of their like being able to sort of finally stand next to Pixar in some ways?
I think at this point the line between Disney and Pixar is non-existent, to be perfectly honest.
Which makes sense with Lasseter overseeing both.
Yeah, I mean, if this had been a Pixar movie, I wouldn't have. There would have been no, drop in quality.
So that's a high compliment.
It very much so. Yeah, I mean, I liked it more than Frozen, just because, but that's partly because Frozen's just not really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I really dug it. Really, I mean, very emotional. I got to be honest. There were times there I got a little bit misty.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot of interest in this, to be honest. But hearing how emotional it is, that's kind of what I want. So
yeah, it's the good stuff. So I mean, I don't even need to tell you any spoilers. I mean, just check it out. It's you, Brian, you'll enjoy it, and it's a great family film. Kids, grown ups, you name it.
Great, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. So now, Birdman, you have now seen it. I briefly mentioned it last time.
Well, since we can talk about that one together and Interstellar together, real quick, I'll say I saw John Wick this past weekend.
Oh, that's right, the new Keanu Reeves movie.
Keanu Reeves action movie, and I'll give a really brief thing about it. I had heard, I didn't have a whole lot of interest. I thought the trailer looked kind of fun, but I was hearing a lot of like positive feedback about it. People really responding to it, liking it a lot, saying Keanu Reeves is back. And I've always loved Keanu Reeves. He never went anywhere for me. So I was happy to hear that he's in a movie people were liking, and I went and saw it. And my real quick review is I did dig it, but it didn't grab me like I was kind of hoping with all the positive word of mouth.
Sure.
It's just a B movie. It's just and I say that in a respectful way. It's just the best version of that movie.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And it knows what it is. The action is crazy. It's very violent. There's a lot of humor in it in the best possible way. It winks a lot, but it's executed really well. It's really tight, and it's a better version of that movie than it needed to be. So, but maybe I'm just the type of guy that I don't always respond to B-movie type movies or even revenge movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the action was good. Keanu Reeves. If you like Keanu Reeves, you're gonna like it. So I don't think it's like run and go, run don't walk. But you definitely a fun rental if you're into kind of, like I say, revenge flicks.
Watch it on Netflix.
Yeah. So John Wick.
All right. So there we go with that. Shall we dive into the spoiler wall and talk up Birdman and Interstellar?
Let's do it.
All right. So from beyond this point, there will be spoilers. So just be aware of that.
And let's say for people who don't even care so much about Birdman, I guess you can keep going for a little bit longer, but we will give a definitive do not pass go for Interstellar, which I would highly recommend not passing go.
If you haven't seen it, and if you plan to see it.
Yes. So Birdman. Let's go Birdman
okay.
first.
Oh, okay. So I am a contrarian on this movie because I didn't dig it.
Birdman. So
and bear in mind, folks, Brian and my habit for this is when we know we are going to discuss a movie on our show, we don't talk about it at all beforehand.
No.
So literally, I've been waiting several weeks now to discuss this movie with Brian. I have no idea what his thoughts are, so I'm just as curious as you to hear what he thinks about this.
I have very complicated thoughts on Birdman. This was the film. I love the premise of this. So you got Michael Keaton playing an actor who's very famous for one role, which is Birdman, which you could almost say is sort of like a alternate world Batman. And he had a lot of commercial success, but didn't feel a lot of artistic success for his career. And so years later, he wants to put on a play, and he's taking it very seriously. He wants to prove himself. He adapted a book, so he wrote it. He's directing it, and he's starring in it. And all while this is going on, he's having these sort of delusions, these hallucinations that he can fly and that he can move objects at his will. He has powers. So anyway, a lot of positive word of mouth again on this one, and seeing the trailers and everything, I was like, man, this is just after the summer films, which I love, but like, I'm ready for this movie. I'm ready for something a little left to center here. And so I went in with pretty high expectations for this movie. And I think I'm kind of with you. I might have liked it a little bit more than you, Zaki, but I was not as blown away by it as everyone else seemed to be.
I was just kind of like, is that it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I really do wonder if a lot of it has to do with the way that the film plays out is as if it is one shot.
Right, yes.
And when you do that, you really are a cameraman following the action, and so you don't get to have the camera be a narrator at all. You're just observing the whole time. Sure. And so in a lot of ways, you don't get a lot of I feel like you're missing out on some emotional insight because you're just an observer for so long. And also these people are kind of annoying and shallow, and you know what I mean? Like, I didn't really find I was rooting for anybody in this movie.
No, they're not likable.
No.
That was actually my issue, is that Regan Thompson, who is the character Michael Keaton plays, he's our focal point. He's a fundamentally not likable character. At no point did I feel any investment in his goal, because it was like first world problems, man.
Yes. Exactly. I mean, because so his play, like, if it goes well, then so what? You know, like a selfish man who's ignoring his daughter with drug addiction.
Yeah.
Gets a good review and then is forgotten again in another week.
Right.
That's basically what this movie amounts to. So, but on the other hand, what I will say in positive, you know, whatever of this movie is that it is technically really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, the whole one-shot thing, which, by the way, to me is kind of a gimmick. Like,
it's absolutely a gimmick.
I'm
no
not saying,
bearing. There's no connection between the gimmick and the story.
No, like I'm not saying that I thought that was cool, because I didn't really think it served the movie very well.
No.
But at the same time, like, yeah, it was a feat, and it was really cool to see them pull it off. Sure. You know, and there's some funny humor in it, and I really, you know, there's this whole sort of, does he actually have these powers? Because there's a scene where he's like trashing his room by just moving objects with his mind, and then the movie ends on sort of a mysterious note where if he has powers, he's alive, and if he doesn't, he is dead.
Right.
And I just could care less.
I was like, I don't even care.
Yeah, like typically a movie like this, you go on all the sites and you're like, what do people think? What are the theories? And I haven't really seen very many theories because I just don't care.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It was very disappointing for me, honestly. It was very disappointing. Michael Keaton is very good in it.
Yeah, he's good.
You know,
everyone's good.
It's good to see him.
Actually stole the show for me.
He's very good in it also. Yeah, he's also very good in it. But it ended, and I was like, all right, great.
Yeah.
You know, like really disappointing for me.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're on the same page with that.
So, kind of a thumbs down then for Birdman.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it.
Let's talk about Interstellar. So this is the new Christopher Nolan movie after, of course, The Dark Knight Rises, which I was more cold on than hot. I think you sort of come around on that to be a slight thumbs up, I think, or more of a thumbs up.
You know, I came out of that movie with a thumbs up, and I think I came back down to earth after a little while. But I still do admire it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me give a little bit of the backstory for me just trying to watch this movie, because it's been a freaking goddamn nightmare. Right? So what happened is that I missed the press screening because I teach a class at the same time that they had that. So I was like, all right, I'm going to have to watch this on my own time. There's no problem. But Christopher Nolan with his friggin' 3-hour movies,
yeah,
becomes like a feat of scheduling now, right?
Right.
So my Sunday morning was going to be drop the kids off at weekend school, and then I'll go catch a screening, and by the time the screening is done, they'll be done with Sunday school, and I'll pick them up, and perfect, right? The system works. No, because my 5-year-old decided to just have like the shit fit from hell, and so I totally missed the screening, and I was furious at him.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, no problem. You know, and the thing, again, is this 3-hour chunk of my day. So I'm trying to be, like, sensitive to, you know, I don't want to leave my wife alone in the middle of a weekend day. So it's like, all right. And then, so Sunday night, I was going to go catch a screening because some friends made that happen. And then the person who was supposed to buy tickets didn't buy tickets, and it was sold out. So I'm like, okay, fine. So a new plan. Today, I managed to find that magic 3 hours where I was able to go in and actually watch the movie, and I got out of it, and so I'm very happy about that. But my point is, seriously, 3 hour movies, like, I don't have the bandwidth for them. But that being said, I went into the movie kind of a hostile witness because of my, the trek of trying to watch this movie. I did not leave the theater a hostile witness.
Yeah.
I liked a whole lot about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's perfect. I think it has its flaws, but it may be one of the favorite movies I've seen this year.
I think we might be on the same page.
Okay.
Yeah, because I felt as soon as it was over, I was like, okay, just like with every Christopher Nolan movie, I feel like I'm going to have to like start the conversation with like, look, yes, I know there are plot holes. Yes, it's overstuffed with ideas. Yes, da-da-da-da-da. But you know what? I loved it.
Okay, so we are on the same page then.
Yeah. So
let's go into some details.
Okay, so let's say
folks,
if anyone has gone with us this
now,
far, now we are absolutely going beyond the point of no return here.
Yeah.
But we both, yes, it is. It's big. It's maybe a little overstuffed, but we both really liked it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So go see it.
Yeah. Go see it and then unpause this.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay,
So,
here we go.
I mean, so talk to me about this, Brian.
Man, you know what I said? I've said this before on the show. I said it after the movie with my friends. There is no one making movies like this. No one. Christopher Nolan is the only guy making this movie. And like you got Michael Bay, and he's making his huge explosive movies, which I'm not even saying that in a condescending way. I mean, he makes huge explosive movies, but like no one is making these sort of interesting, mysterious, I really truly don't know what's going to happen next.
But
Films.
it's funny that you say that because to me, as I was watching it, the thought that occurred to me was I was like, it's almost like a film school exercise where Michael Bay and Christopher Nolan were given the same assignment. And Michael Bay made Armageddon, and Christopher Nolan made this.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
And they're both kind of indulgent in some ways to the filmmaker.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I just, I didn't read any reviews, whatever. I did watch the trailers, but like I thought they did a good job of enticing me and then showing me stuff. I just had no clue what was coming up, and for being a nearly 3-hour movie, I was completely engaged the entire time. And what I appreciated about it was, I don't know if you'd call them, I don't even know if there were action sequences in this. There were some tense moments, but like,
absolutely,
there was a lot of quiet moments. There was moments when they would be on their ship when they were in space, and it really was about just kind of observing space.
Right.
Like these quiet moments, and like I thought it all worked together well. Like I was never bored. And for being Christopher Nolan, he is kind of filled with these sort of gargantuan ideas and kind of crams them all in there and stuff like that. But he also had some nice little character moments in here. The whole father-daughter stuff notwithstanding, but like I really enjoyed that moment where I should have that IMDb thing up in front of me. But the one character who was having that moment of realization when he was up in space, where he's like, there is nothing, just a little piece of tin that is separating me from like the vastness of the universe.
Right.
And then McConaughey is listening to like an iPod, and then he gives it to the guy to calm him down, and it's basically he's listening to a rainstorm instead of music. Just something normal that he can like relate to.
Right.
And I was like, what a nice little moment. Like you could cut that moment out.
Right.
But like that was nice having that in there. I don't know.
Well, and I mean, when you are Christopher Nolan, that's the flexibility you achieve, where you don't have to cut those moments out.
Right.
It's interesting, right? because I think personally, reflexively, I tend to be like, most movies don't need to be 3 hours long.
Sure.
And so that's my reflexive answer generally. But then I go back to, I think Roger Ebert said that, a good movie can never be too long, and a bad movie can never be too short.
Right.
I do, that kind of comes into play here because I do think there's actually relatively little fat on this.
Yeah. There's just a lot that happens.
There's a lot of story, but it's not flabby.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we're past the spoiler wall here, but I mean, Matt Damon is in this movie.
Right. Oh yeah. By the way.
Yeah, and his whole thing could have been a movie unto itself.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it will be when The Martian comes out. But I mean, I was like, kind of like, holy crap, this is literally the same character he's going to be playing in like a year or two.
That's really fun. I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much ground that's covered in this movie. I mean, you have
and the fact that Damon, his whole arc and his heel turn and stuff, which I to be fair, I have to say, I thought the heel turn was a little like they telegraphed it a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's not even the climax. You know what I mean? Like in the other film, there's Act 3.
Mm-hmm.
Act 3 is, oh my gosh, the space station is spinning, we got to lock on, and oh my gosh, we did it.
Right.
Credits.
Right.
Man, but we have like a whole other act, you know?
I'll be completely honest, I forgot about that part. I'm thinking of so many other things right now that I totally forgot. That was so rad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, there's stuff I'm forgetting now, but like the whole beginning too. I mean, where you just have the human element, where you got McConaughey with his kids, and you set up this whole world.
Well, and he sets up the world. Here's what I really appreciated. There was no narration.
Mm-hmm.
There was no titles.
No.
We were dropped into it, and we literally, over the course of the first hour, we got in drips and drabs of exposition what the state of the world is right now.
Yeah.
And that was revolutionary to me.
Yeah. And you get it.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing we miss. And I was telling Michael, our pal Michael, about what a moment I really appreciated in this was when McConaughey shows up at NASA, and there's that robot, TARS, you know, that's like interrogating him, and they don't explain him at all. Like, there's just this weird monolith-looking robot that, and McConaughey says something about, like, you know, he references him as a Marine.
Yeah, he's like, there aren't any Marines anymore or something.
Yeah,
like that.
And you're like, wait, what? Like,
yeah,
robots were Marine, like, and that's it. That's all it's all you get, and it's all you need.
Yeah,
you know, no hand holding, and it really, yeah, it's very mature.
It's interesting because I feel like the robots, there's two of them, right? There's Case and TARS.
Yeah.
They were almost
Kit, right? Wasn't there one called Kit?
Yeah, the one on the planet that Matt Damon is on, right?
Oh, right.
They were set up as anti-HALs, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it was Nolan deliberately trying to make these characters, quote unquote, as different as possible from HAL, so that you know, like you referred to a monolith, right? So visually, they're meant to make you think of 2001, and then your automatic thing is like, oh, they're obviously like the robots are going to turn bad or whatever.
Right. Because they're imposing looking.
Yeah.
You know, they don't resemble it at all, but they kind of remind me of Maximilian from the Black Hole.
There you go. Which I was just watching the other day, actually. How right?
Yeah. But just sort of this weird towering sort of presence.
Well, and you know, there's a moment in the film where it's after Michael Caine, his character passes away, right? And Jessica Chastain sends that message where she's like, "Did you know?" Directed at Anne Hathaway, and we have the robot watching the message.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was watching it, I was like, "Are they setting up something like the robot knows something that the other people don't?" You know what I mean? Because it's a blank slate.
Mm-hmm.
So we, you know, I mean, to me, Nolan is too deliberate a filmmaker not to have used that to his advantage. Just our sense of like, well, what are these things, you know?
Right.
So I think the fact that they end up being fully formed characters in a sense is like this pleasant surprise, you know?
Yeah. And I want to say real quick while we're talking about the robots, another thing that I really appreciated on a filmmaking level was I read, you know, this is another thing too. I posted, you know, an interview on our Facebook page with an interview with Christopher Nolan. Right. And I feel like he is very elusive and you don't hear a lot from him. But it feels like there's been a ton of interviews with him recently, and people are very quick to like put, quotes and things out from him and his opinions on things. Because we'll take anything we can get from this guy because we're very curious about him. But one of the things that he mentioned was he didn't want to have any green screen in this movie. And there isn't any, which is
it's amazing,
insane. And and you know what? You feel it. You absolutely feel it. And I have to say, I was in Time Warner Cable this morning.
Okay.
Swapping out my modem, and Maleficent was playing on the screen.
Okay.
And so I was watching Maleficent for about 15 to 20 minutes, which, this is nothing about the film, but when it starts off, it introduces this sort of fairy world, and it is just unmistakably CGI. It's fake. Yeah. And when they introduce the human girl, she looks real, and everything around her looks fake. Right. And your eyes kind of adapt to it, and you just get used to it. This is what this movie's going to look like, whatever. But the thing is with this movie, the robot was actually there. Like, your eyes would have sort of adjusted to a CGI robot, but you still wouldn't have completely bought it with your mind. But they actually put this tangible thing, next to these people. It just really, I don't know. It really sells it. It goes the extra mile, honestly, doing that. And the fact that Nolan is so, strict about doing all those things, I really feel like it helped sell a lot of the scope and intensity of this movie.
Well, and you sent me this article about how Christopher Nolan has sort of reinvented franchise filmmaking in the sense that he himself is the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And how when it came to release this movie, you had the studios fighting over it to the point that Paramount and Warner Brothers, I thought this was very interesting because Warner Brothers is a normal studio, but this is a co-release with Paramount. And in order to bring about this co-production, Warner Brothers handed over the rights to Friday the 13th and South Park to Paramount.
Yeah.
In order to have this co-production deal. And I was like, normally that's not how this stuff works, right?
Right.
And that says something about the fact that this is a filmmaker they can do that with. I think Christopher Nolan has elevated himself to like the James Cameron, Steven Spielberg level.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
To an extent, he's proven with his work where maybe M. Night Shyamalan went astray a little bit.
How do you mean?
Well, because I think both of them are directors who thrive on the mystery, right?
Right.
But I think Shyamalan's problem, and maybe this is not a problem of his own making, but I think he got boxed in by this, is the mystery of Shyamalan became all about the twist ending.
Right.
And so to an extent he became a one-trick pony, right? I think with Christopher Nolan, there's an overall sense of mystery of like what's going on.
Right.
And there is a thrill in discovering it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the same thing goes with Inception, right? Inception is one of these movies that just like this, it drops you into the world and it fills you in as you go.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The Prestige is like that too. I think there's a part of it maybe that, Nolan is just a better filmmaker, maybe, but there's an immersiveness to this that I was really surprised by, because I was so drawn in. There's these emotional moments. I think this is the most emotional movie he's ever done.
Yeah.
He's at one.
I teared up.
Absolutely. Well, when Matthew McConaughey, so he's been on the planet, and there's like a time dilation effect where every hour on the planet is decades on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been he's been on the planet for an hour or two. He comes back to the space station, and it's actually been 23 years.
Yeah.
So he gets he's watching 23 years worth of transmissions that have been sent to him
from his kids. And
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It was really emotional for me.
Yeah, watching him lose it.
Yeah, and I was really impressed by McConaughey in this.
Yeah. And it's worse because it was all because of a screw up.
Right.
From Anne Hathaway's character. And it's just like, accidents happen, but this accident cost us 23 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Anne Hathaway did not endear herself to me in this film, but then again, I'm not necessarily an Anne Hathaway fan.
I'm feeling less and less.
I mean, I'm not an Anne Hathaway hater, just to be clear, but I don't.
I thought she did all right.
My problem with her in this is it just felt like the dialogue was over her head. It felt like to me.
I can see that.
It didn't feel natural coming from her.
Yeah.
I thought Jessica Chastain was very good.
Yeah, she's very good.
She's Topher Grace was Topher Grace. It felt like Eric from that '70s show wandered in.
Yeah. I will say this. That was one moment I found to be a little bit of a weak spot. I think something that Nolan does really well, which Lucas always tries to do too, is in their third acts, they like to have like three things going on and like intercut between them. And Inception is probably the best example of that for him, where you've got the van falling backwards.
Oh my gosh.
You've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt pushing, all the people floating into the elevator so they can get to the kick in time. And you got, what's his name? DiCaprio dealing with his wife in like another sort of realm, and Ellen Page. And they're all cutting back and forth with like Hans Zimmer's brilliant pulsating score. I mean, it's brilliant, just brilliant. Yeah. And then in this one, it felt like they're trying to do that as well, but they didn't really have a decent ticking clock for Jessica Chastain. Right. So basically, they sent Topher Grace out into the front yard to go like, the fire's out!
Come on!
And then something else is going on, and then you forget about him, and then it cuts back to him. He's like, there's a truck coming! And then it like cuts back inside the house. And I was like, I wonder what that day was like with Topher Grace. She's like, okay, yell about the truck now. Cut. Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Here's your check.
Yeah.
Off you go.
But that was minor complaint.
You brought up Hans Zimmer. His score for this film was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll play like by itself, but as a function of the film, it was really it's hard to explain, but it felt very old school.
Yeah. Well, probably the pipe organ.
Yeah, I mean, there was a disconnect between what we were seeing and how it sounded, but it fit so perfectly.
Yeah, there's it captured a lot of the majesty of kind of what we were looking at, like the universe.
Yeah,
we're looking at it, and instead of like coming up with some sort of cool, modern sounding thing, it went for something a little older and maybe more stirring.
Well, it definitely felt like Hans Zimmer was a bit more motivated with this than some of his other stuff sometimes tends to be.
No, I totally agree.
It wasn't...
Yeah. Which, I mean, to give him credit, like, it worked for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, like, I felt like... there was the only moment I felt like his weaknesses were on display was actually that ending moment with Jessica Chastain at the house and Topher Grace outside. Mm-hmm. Instead of punctuating moments, it just felt like there was a loop that was playing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I would say is one of his weaknesses. But on the other hand, all the stuff that took place in space, all the other moments, I thought everything he did was just perfectly married to the image that I was seeing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the ending briefly as we wrap up this discussion. There's been a lot of talk about how there's many layers to this ending, and actually, it feels like after Inception, everyone is looking for a twist ending that's not really there.
Sure.
I've read more than one piece that says that actually Cooper is dead at the end of the film, and everything we see past his ship breaking up is just a dream.
Right.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, I think that's such a, I've seen theories where they think that Ferris Bueller doesn't exist and it's really a movie about Cameron. There's always, I get it, especially because Matt Damon harps so much on that speech about seeing your kids before you die.
Right.
So, and I mean, that isn't just like a toss-off line. I mean, that's really hammered.
Right.
home. So I get it.
Your kids now. Your kids. Remember your kids?
Right. But I'm not buying that.
So my understanding. I again, you saw it longer ago than me, so maybe you've had more time to percolate on this. So McConaughey ends up in a 3-dimensional representation of 5-dimensional space.
Right.
That's been created for him by humans in the future.
Right. Who
have mastered the role, how to reach through time.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
They've done that deliberately because they need McConaughey to put the idea in Jessica Chastain's mind.
Ooh, repeating motif.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They need him to tell her, like, because she needs to save the world.
Am I have a revelation to save the world? Yeah. Did you realize at the beginning of the movie that the ghost was McConaughey? Did you think that right away? I've had 2 people tell me that, and I did not at all.
What?
Yeah, no, seriously.
What?
They said they picked up on it pretty quickly. And
but how?
I have no idea.
That I never would have made that connection at all.
Yeah.
I was actually, to me, that was a big flaw where as the movie was winding down, I was like, who are these aliens or whatever? Like, you need to explain it because you can't go so long without getting into that, you know?
Right.
No, but I never would have even occurred to me.
Yeah, same.
Wow. Okay.
But anyway, that scene was pretty cool.
With the where he's floating around in the bookshelves and I mean, man, you know, it drew to. I mean, to me, like the 2001 Space Odyssey parallels are just all over the place, you know, because he's on. You've seen 2001, right?
No.
You've not seen 2001, really? No. Okay, yeah.
I've seen chunks of it.
It's a movie that is difficult to get all the way through for, you know. I've
been waiting for a theatrical experience to see it all the way through. It screens usually twice a year out here, so.
I definitely recommend you at least checking it out, just to be able to say you've seen it.
Definitely.
But you know what McConaughey goes through is very similar to an experience that a character has in that film.
Actually, I have seen that part.
Okay, so then you kind of
talk about it. Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, obviously Nolan is hearkening back to that. He's leaning on that iconography, and I think he's doing a little, you know, bait and switch because what that movie is about is the idea that the monolith has been created by these advanced aliens, and they are leading the path. You know, so I mean, the fact that they set us up to think that when in fact it's this. I mean, that's very deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I will say about the ending where you have kind of like to me the ending is a very Nolan-y ending of the film in terms of how it's constructed, because you see it in a lot of his films where you have multiple sequences of action going on that are bracketed by narration.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, good call.
Like, as I was watching it, I was like, oh, this might as well be the ending of The Dark Knight or of even The Dark Knight Rises, you know? Very much in that vein. But it's a good flick, man.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Oh, good. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's it, yeah. Did I what?
I have too much stuff. I still want to keep talking about this. But did you read because, you know, Jonathan Nolan wrote this script originally for Steven Spielberg.
I did know that, yeah.
So did you read what the differences were?
I did not.
It's funny because as I was walking out of the movie, I was thinking, because that script is readily available if you want it, the 2008 version of this. And part of me was like, I could see myself maybe taking the time to read it or skim through it real quick just to see how it compares. But then I was like, you know what? No, this is the age of, you know, the internet. There will be an article pointing out the differences, and sure enough, Monday morning
on /film,
and I think on Reddit someone did it too. But yeah, so I got to go through it, and long and short of it, one of the bigger changes is that Murph was a boy originally, so it was a father-son story, but Nolan changed it to a girl, and Nolan Well, he has sons too, but he has a girl.
Yeah.
And then also in Spielberg's version, there is no Matt Damon character. But when they get to that planet that doesn't seem, to be habitable, there are aliens on that planet, but they're beneath the ice.
I see.
So they're almost like these sort of like parasite creatures, and they take a couple of them with them. And but as they dig a little deeper, they actually find that there's a hatch on this planet that has a Chinese flag on it. And it ends up the Chinese have been there for 30 years already.
Oh, wow.
And so they find a bunch of Chinese astronauts who have passed away inside this hatch. And they go even further, and on the edges of space, there is a space station that the Chinese have known about and been trying to preserve for like years and years and years. So it's like a totally...
Wow.
Like a lot of the structure is kind of there, but a lot of the stuff in between has been changed quite significantly.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like Nolan wanted to just totally make this, with a few exceptions, the most grounded possible, version of this. And I gotta say, at the very first act of the movie, I was like, are there going to be aliens in this? Is this going to be sort of like his abyss?
Right.
And part of me was kind of excited about that, honestly. But then when it was over, I was like, no, I'm glad there wasn't aliens. Like, I'm glad they kind of kept this with something that we can all kind of relate to and understand. And reality as we know it right now. So.
Absolutely.
But anyway,
yeah.
Absolutely worth a theatrical trip if you can make it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I saw it on a larger screen. I saw it on an XD size screen, not an IMAX screen, but I think that was a big part of the experience, so I would highly recommend that. Well, just looking at the clock here, we are bumping up against getting very close to 2 hours, and that was not the plan to have a 2-hour discussion, but then again, we're talking about a 3-hour movie, so I guess that balances out. So very quickly, let me wrap things up here. You can, of course, find us online at moviefilmpodcast.com and also at facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast, which is where we'd like you to interact with us. You can also email us, of course, at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can find Brian at everythingbrian.blogspot.com, although he doesn't post there as well as he should. And of course, he does have a Twitter account, everythingbrian. So please do harass him there so that he does post. And of course, you can find me at zakiscorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner. And also at the Huffington Post, where my movie reviews go up regularly, as does the Movie Film Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We got a lot more fall movies to discuss. So on behalf of my colleague Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This is the Movie Film Podcast. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Welcome, friends.